Hi Brad, how are you?
Good, and you, Madeline?
Yeah, good, thank you, good. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Just a bit of an introduction. So my name is Maddie, I'm a Senior Account Manager for Weld Recruitment, and I'm very excited to be joined by Brad Woodhouse, who is the founder of an awesome fitness app called Weld.
Great, thanks, Maddie. Thanks for the introduction. So yeah, I'm Brad. I'm the founder of Weld. Weld was incorporated in 2018 as a fitness technology platform, and obviously we had illusions of grandeur, kind of going into the fitness market and really kind of disrupting and being innovative. And yeah, that obviously stems from my background, coming from a marketing advertising background, and then getting cancer, and that was obviously what led me going into to very much look into the health and fitness industry. And yeah, Weld obviously is a platform that stands for wellness, exercise, lifestyle, and diet. And it connects health professionals with customers and locations to train or exercise.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Awesome. So just if I may, Brad, because your story is really quite incredible. If okay, I'd love for you to share that, because obviously you've been through such a journey yourself, which has led you to create Weld. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your incredible story with us, that would be amazing.
Sure. So obviously I'm South African. I haven't always lived in the UK. That was as a consequence of being diagnosed with cancer. And what happened was I was working for our family business at the time back in South Africa. I'd been getting headaches, vomiting for about 9 months. And eventually I plucked up the courage to go and see a neuroscientist. He then diagnosed me with a brain tumor in the third ventricle of my brain. We then started, I had an emergency operation that afternoon. My parents were in London. They then flew back to meet me the next day after the surgery. In South Africa, it was an inoperable brain tumor, so they were going to try and do radiation and chemo. That then made us look elsewhere. So we found a couple of doctors around the world that could treat me with some degree of certainty, with the best option being out in Stanford in California. Went out to California, did a biopsy. The results came back, and I had something called a pineal cytoma, a malignant brain cancer. That had a 30 to 40% survival rate. And obviously being told at 24 years old that you have a malignant brain cancer isn't something that you kind of expect. And the options were kind of laid on the table, that either we treat this thing and we operate, or the kind of prognosis didn't look particularly good. So we opted to go for operation, which was a 13-hour debulking surgery. 11 hours into the operation, they nicked a nerve in my brain wall that made the whole left-hand side of my body go paralyzed. And as a result of that, they closed me up. I started going into a massive convulsive fit. I spat up my bite plate. The doctors just said, look, we have to close them up. So they went through to my parents saying, look, the operation was a success and that we got out 70% of the tumor. But the bad news is that there's still 30% in there, and he might wake up paralyzed on the left hand side of his body. And yeah, obviously being told at 24 that you have this cancer, it really changes your complete thinking about everything. Like, up until that point, I wanted to have a business, to make money, to buy a big house, to have a fast car, and all that kind of stuff. And then when you're lying on the operating table, having to sign a will and a contract indemnifying the hospital and the doctors in case of your death, and then doing that on 4 separate occasions across 4 different surgeries. When you wake up, you kind of wake up in more way than one. I realized that I wanted to have a positive impact, and I wanted to be able to look back on my life and not have any regrets. And unfortunately, when I first lay on that table, I did have regrets of who I was and what I'd achieved. And I felt like I could do more. And I guess cancer gave me that, in the sense that I never would have had that introspection beforehand. And yeah, Weld was obviously born out of that kind of underlying need to want to then help people as a direct result of having survived cancer myself.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, what an overwhelming experience, and probably one of the toughest things that I think anyone could go through, both physically and mentally. So, yeah, incredible that you made it through, and yeah, even more incredible that you've turned that experience into something so positive, and learning from all that, and developing Weld is just absolutely incredible. So well done.
Thank you.
I guess just on that, in terms of Weld, you've obviously spoken about, you know, how it came about. Can you talk us through a little bit more who Weld would be beneficial to, you know, who watching this could really take advantage of an app like Weld?
Yeah, so obviously it's an acronym for wellness, exercise, lifestyle, and diet, like I said. So it spans quite a broad universe of customers. But what we wanted to do was that if you look at the typical value exchange in health and fitness, you have the health professional, which is the instructor or the trainer or the coach who provides the service. And then you have the area that service is provided in, whether it's a gym or a studio or outdoors. And then you have the customer. And typically the customer pays for it, and in return they feel better, they look better, they have a better mental state. But we also wanted to make it a platform where everyone benefited mentally, physically, and financially. And obviously, being in its purest sense a marketplace, we had to try and look at the equation and say, how would Weld be different from what's currently out there on the market? There's ClassPass, there's Peloton, there are these huge platforms that are dealing with customers, but we wanted to be a kind of three-way value exchange. So we wanted the customers to benefit, to feel like they were getting the best instructors at really affordable rates. And we wanted the health professionals, which was a generic term for the instructors and the coaches and the trainers, to feel like they were also getting something back from this platform. Because we, especially myself and my team that have built this from the ground up, we saw the value in really investing our time in the health professionals. And if you get the health professionals onto a good wicket and they're able to make money through the platform, and they're able to form a community, they're able to learn, they're able to feel like they actually have a steer on where the platform's going, then they become invested themselves and they become advocates. So that was really what kind of drove it. And in terms of the business model that surrounds Weld, during my recovery from cancer, from the temporary paralysis, I had to start going and seeing rehab specialists, occupational therapists. And it was in those kind of initial early exchanges that I realized that I've always been a curious person. So I asked them how they got into health and fitness, and why they got into health and fitness. And they said it's because they loved helping people. And to be honest, that's something that got me into the health and fitness industry, is because I loved helping other people who'd been diagnosed with cancer, to tell them what I ate and what I drank and all that sort of stuff. But they got involved in it because they loved helping people. Obviously, the downside is that they have to agree to the terms that these gyms and studios are setting, which means that they have to forego 40 to 60% of their class revenue as a service fee to these gyms. So what Weld did was that we kind of flipped the whole equation around on its head and said, let's put the health professional first and allow them to make as much money through the platform as possible. And that should in turn allow us to build a bigger customer base, build loyalty, build advocacy. So I know I've deviated a bit from your question, but the broader sense is that by helping the health professionals have a lower service fee because we're charging them less to use the platform, they're able to reach a much broader and larger segment of the population. Because obviously 1 in 7 people in the UK belong to a gym, and there's 11.7 million fitness members out there, but a large portion of them can't afford health and fitness professionals or that one-on-one contact. And we wanted to create a model where that was the case. So by creating something that was affordable, convenient, and accessible, we honestly believe that pretty much everyone now, following the impact of COVID, should in some way, form, get involved in health and fitness.
Amazing. And yeah, I mean, a few points there, and actually having looked and used the app myself, that stand out for me. I think it's quite unique that you give a real identity to these fitness professionals. You know, they are very individual on there, and the fact that you've got an all-encompassing app where people can actually find those more specific health professionals, and as you say, actually giving back to them and allowing them, access to hopefully more people, in turn allowing more people access to them is incredible. And next question, hopefully for not too much longer, will this be a key topic? But of course, it is a massive one right now. How has COVID affected Weld, and what are the issues you faced, and how have you guys gone through this?
Well, whether it's a positive or negative, COVID, it is something that's terrible that's happened to the industry. Obviously, it's put a lot of people out of jobs, and obviously the much broader aspects of a lot of people have passed away from the pandemic. That being said, health and fitness has never been more important. People are now realizing that they need that 30 minutes a day to go for a walk or to meditate or to really kind of vent their frustrations. Um, and obviously seeing the physical and mental side of it really come to the fore during COVID and the data that we're seeing, it's never made me more sure about the fact that what we're doing is right. Um, to be honest, we've grown over 1,000% during COVID. And yes, that's great. And obviously means that there's appetite, and we did have to pivot. We did have to adjust our model. But fortunately, I've got a great team that surrounds me, and we were able to sit back last year in February and see the writing on the wall coming from Asia and say, okay, you know what, we see that there's a change coming. We need to start building our back end to be flexible and agile to these changes. So we were very able to adjust from being a in-person face-to-face business to then going to a hybrid version of fitness where we could both provide online services as well as in-person services. And as far as lockdown goes, obviously everything is virtual at the moment, which is great. But at the same time, it's been hard. People still need that face-to-face tangible element of classes. But we've seen an incredible turn in the way that health professionals have had their kind of shackles removed, and they haven't had to rely on premises and locations anymore, and it's given the power back to them. And at the same time, we also are starting to see the importance of gyms, and that's also why Weld is uniquely positioned, because we're a three-sided platform that actually connects gyms, gyms, health professionals, and customers together. So we're obviously riding COVID out, and we were able to adapt and adjust our business model. And one of the key things that we did is that we knew the health professionals were going to be the hardest hit. And we're a startup. Yes, we have a limited amount of cash in the bank, of course. But what we didn't want to do is that we didn't want to be seen to be taking advantage of the situation. So what we started to do is that we started paying £40 to every single class that was transacted through our platform, and give that £40 directly to the health professional. And they would also keep the revenue from their class. So we basically just wanted to help these incredible health professionals that make Weld what it is survive this period, and not only survive, but also grow their businesses and their brands, and to show them that online and offline can kind of work in this hybrid vision or model that we see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, amazing. Firstly, on the growth for you guys, that is absolutely fantastic, and I really agree with you. And I think we've all kind of seen it, that there definitely is the emergence of this hybrid model, and I think that was coming anyway. But you know, now that COVID's happened and we've had to go that way, it's there. And I think once we're over this, we're looking forward to some actual personal contact. But for the time being, you know, it's fantastic that we've still been able to enjoy our fitness, and more of us are interested in it, as you say. Being in the middle of a health crisis, you know, a few people have woken up to that, which is fantastic. Amazing. So finally, what's next for Weld? What does the future look like for you guys?
So we're obviously about to partake in another capital raise. Our as a direct consequence of Weld, our development and product roadmap has been accelerated. We had only planned to do streaming services towards the back end of last year, and then that obviously got brought 6 months forward. And as a result of that, we've really had to kind of streamline and move at a much quicker rate than what we thought we were initially going to. And obviously that's because the supply and the demand has also increased so much. But in terms of what's next, just focusing on understanding our customers and their needs going into this post-COVID kind of market. And obviously going into the business model sense is that we obviously want to start providing free live streaming classes. We want to provide on-demand and subscription services, and just be a platform that is about the community. One of the advisors to Weld is a lady by the name of Jenny Rivet, who was Princess Diana's personal trainer. And when Jenny came on board, she made it very clear that education for us was one of the most important things that we would need to provide going forward to set ourselves apart. And that directly feeds into one of our core pillars of community. And post-COVID, or even during COVID, we've started to look at ways for health professionals to start learning and teaching one another, because typically in the environment that we live in today, health professionals work in silos. They don't want to share information because they don't want to share clients, where I'm kind of seeing it from the other way around, where I think everyone should be sharing information and tips. And that's something that me personally, I want to drive going forward, is this ability to share information and educate one another, and really kind of increase the value of the industry, because that will increase the value of the individual sums as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that last point is so powerful, and I think we'll definitely start seeing that happen. There are a few positives to take out of this experience. I think that being one, as well as people being much more interested in their health, but certainly there's a lot of value in people sharing their insights and experiences, for sure. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys are busy, that you're doing very, very well. And if people want to get involved with Weld, how can they download the app? Is that just by the App Store?
They can download the apps. They can go to weldbeing.com, and they can download either the Weld app, which is the customer-facing app, which is available on both iOS and Android app stores, or they can even become health professionals or premises owners themselves, and they can do that also through the iOS and the app stores.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I know you're incredibly busy, so we really, really appreciate it. And for anyone that does want to check out Weld, we'll include all of the details, the link to this interview. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Brad, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Cool. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.